Let's bring in Amy Walter to the conversation. She's the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Cook Political Report. And Amy, you have a new piece out entitled What Losing 2022 Democratic Candidates Tell Us About 24 Priorities. And in it, you discuss who could lead the Democratic Party in the coming years, writing in part, quote, "In politics, losing isn't always a career ender. Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush both lost U.S. House contests before winning statewide office. Today, Democrats' most lauded loser is a white guy from Ohio who gave Democrats some hope of winning back their blue-collar followers. Democratic Senate nominee Tim Ryan ran just a couple of points ahead of Biden's showing in the Buckeye State, but his strong campaign operation helped down-ballot Democrats win in key House races in the state. What does Ryan do with his newfound fame? For now, the path to the White House is closed. If he's going to find a political future, he may, like Obama and Bush before him, have to wait for more than just one cycle before the opportunity presents itself again. It may not be possible to win back Ohio, but Democrats now see Midwestern governors like Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan and Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania as their best potential presidential contenders for the near future. And when you look at those three names in there, Shapiro, Whitmer, and Tim Ryan, those are three great candidates.
Strong,
backbench.
Really strong.
Frontbench.
Midwest candidates. And Amy, how fascinating. Of course, 20 years ago, 22 years ago, Tim Russert talked about Florida.
Right.
Now it's Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And I'm still shocked how well Democrats did in a state like Michigan. However, I have no idea how Evers squeaked over the finish line in Wisconsin, but he did. How well Democrats did in Pennsylvania.
Fetterman.
What happened?
He had a stroke.
Well, and how well they did at the congressional level in those states as well. It wasn't just the top of the ticket. In many of those states, as I pointed out in Ohio, you have Tim Ryan helping to lift up candidates for the House, including the seat that he left to run for the Senate. You know, it's interesting. We look back at 2018. Who was everybody talking about in Democratic circles? Stacey Abrams, Beto O'Rourke, right? They were going to lead Democrats away from the Midwest. Democrats didn't need to worry so much about the Midwest because they can win in Texas and in Georgia. That was going to be the Sun Belt was going to be the savior for Democrats. But this last election, I think what Democrats came to recognize is you still need the Midwest. Yes, Democrats did very well in Georgia and Arizona, of course, but Texas looks farther away than ever. So does Florida. And while Ohio may never come back, I think the fact that Democrats saw someone who was fighting in Ohio, who was saying, let's just not give up and say, forget it, let's just leave the Midwest or a place like Ohio behind, is the important distinction for this cycle. And especially thinking about 2024, it's not just the White House and the path the White House runs through, but Senate control runs through states that are pretty rural and include Ohio once again.
Yeah, I mean, Texas gone, Florida is gone, Ohio looks rough, but those upper Midwest states look strong.
That's right.
Let me ask you, then we can go to break and we'll ask some more questions on the other side. I'm curious about this ongoing debate by data people about who've really studied it about Hispanics. We hear all the time, oh, the Hispanics are bleeding support. Democrats are bleeding Hispanic support. It's absolutely terrible. I seem to dig down into numbers and doesn't, it seems, in the 30s, like it's not that bad. But I'm curious, what have you found about 2022 on Hispanics and also about suburban women, especially, how far they've bolted away from the Republican Party?
Yeah, these are really important questions. And I think in this election for Latino voters, it's sort of a mixed bag. I mean, Democrats will tell you, look, no doubt, Florida, that was bad news, especially losing Miami-Dade County. But they held their own Democratic candidates held their own in the Rio Grande Valley, obviously Nevada, Arizona. the good news for Democrats, one Democratic strategist said to me, is we're not doing any worse than we did with those voters in 2020. The bad news is we're not doing any better than we were in 2020. So not hitting 2018 type levels, but not going further down. I just think you have such a question about turnout, right? And to me, that's the bigger question going into 2024. With Donald Trump on the top of the ticket, the kinds of voters that turn out when he's on the ticket include, I think, not just our traditional white voter that we think of, rural voter in the Midwest, but also certain types of Latino voters who come out and vote when Donald Trump is on the ticket, at least did in 2020, or where the conversation was in those communities. I think in terms of the suburban voter, that's an excellent point. And, you know, back in 2018, we were all talking about the question about whether these voters were just being rented, right? That Democrats had them, but only when Trump was on the ticket. Well, now we've had a 2018, a 2020, and a 2022. There are certainly signs that those voters have left for good. But let's see what happens if and when Donald Trump isn't in the picture, where those voters go. Yeah.